Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshur Unmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtham Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakadamahyam Dadati Swa Padantikam Nama Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Iti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vas Adi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So I am very happy to be here and very grateful for this invitation and this opportunity to serve all of you. This is the most auspicious time. We are celebrating the swing festival of Sri Sri Radha Krishna, and to be amidst devotees during this time and to glorify the Supreme Lord and to speak about the different pastimes of the Supreme Lord is very pleasing to the senses and very purifying for a devotee. In fact, the process of chanting and hearing is always pleasing. It's pleasing to the mind, it's pleasing to the senses, it's pleasing for our consciousness, very purifying. The process of bhakti is the fastest and the easiest way to get Krishna. And in the words of Sri Krishna in chapter 6, text 47 of the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Yoginam api sarvesham madgate nantaratmana Shraddhavan bhajate yomam sameyukta tamo mataha. He says, O Arjuna, it's my opinion that among all practitioners, those who practice the process of bhakti are topmost, because this is the process where the mind is fixed at the lotus feet of Krishna. You find this time and again. Krishna talks about fixing the mind. In the next verse, chapter 7, text 1, Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Mai asakta mana partha yogam yunjan mad ashraya asam shayam samagram mam yatha nyasasi tatshrunu. He says, O Arjuna, listen very carefully. Tatshrunu. That the process, Mai asakta mana, the process of attaching your mind onto me. Yogam yunjan mad ashraya. Engaging yourself completely in this linking process of yoga, bhakti yoga, and taking shelter of me. By this process, asamshayam samagram mam yatha nyasasi tachrunu. By this process, for sure, you can understand me in full. So in fact, this goes the other way. Tachrunu. So the process of hearing comes first. By that, you understand Krishna. Then Mad Ashraya, you take shelter of Krishna. Then Yogam Yunjan. Then you're linking in the process of bhakti. And finally, Mai Asakta Mana. The mind gets attached. So Krishna puts it backwards. So it's a very beautiful formation of the verse. Another place, Krishna says the 4-point formula. How to reach him. He says, Man mana bhava mad bhaktau. Again, he starts about attaching the mind. And this you find time and again. He says this in chapter 9, text 34, and also in chapter 18. He reminds us of the same point. So in this way, the process of bhakti is very sublime and very practical. In other processes, you have to perform austerity. You have to sit amidst blazing fire in the middle of summer afternoons. You have to submerge yourself in ice-cold water up to the neck in the winter nights. But in Kali Yuga, for living entities like us, it's just impossible. So the process of bhakti is very simple, very easy, very open to everyone, and it's the easiest and the fastest way to get Krishna. In the process of bhakti, the process of hearing about Krishna and chanting the names of Krishna are topmost. We find Shravanam and Kirtanam. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was asked, out of the 9 processes of bhakti, which is the topmost? Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu immediately said, Tar madhye sarvasreshtha naam sankirtan niraparad naam layle paye premadhan. That by offenselessly chanting and remembering Sri Krishna, very spontaneously and very quickly, you achieve the lotus feet of Krishna by the process of chanting, Nama Sankirtan. But we always start the process of chanting and speaking Krishna Katha by hearing. Everything that we learn in this world and in that world is by hearing. So with that introduction, glorifying the process of bhakti, glorifying the process of chanting and hearing, for the next few minutes, let's absorb our consciousness, let's meditate and engage our mind completely in hearing the beautiful narration of the glories and the significance of the swing festival of Sri Sri Radha and Krishna. According to the scripture, starting from the Bhagavad Gita, the fundamental teaching for every sadhaka is that we are spirit souls. We are completely spiritual. We are Sat Chit Ananda. We belong to Sri Krishna. We have no other shelter. We have no other master. We don't belong to anybody except Krishna, and Krishna doesn't belong to anybody except us. But when we develop this envy towards the Lord, when we are not very favorable towards Sri Krishna, as rehabilitation centers are very famous in this world, Krishna, by his energies, creates this beautiful rehabilitation center of the material world. It's very, very easy to feel envious of Krishna, if you actually think about it. In this world, people, especially boys, the teenage boys or college-going boys, they fight when 2 boys love the same girl. There's one boy who loves a girl, and there's another boy who also loves that girl, and they both fight for that same girl. And if that girl gives more attention to another boy, this boy feels jealous or envious. We can't have that in the spiritual world. In the spiritual world, Sri Krishna, who's supremely beautiful, supremely attractive, is not the center of attraction of one girl, but he's the center of attraction of 60 billion gopis. Now, when we think, why is Krishna the center of their attention? Look, I'm here. Why not me? That's a downfall. But when we develop this feeling that, well, Krishna is mine, Krishna belongs to me. In fact, instead of thinking that why are they focusing on Krishna, why not me? The question should be, when they are focusing on Krishna, why not me? So when we are envious, naturally what happens is that for rectification process, we are given material bodies. We find in this world that people who get into prison houses, they're given a specific uniform, isn't it? Specific uniform, so that they can serve their term in the prison house. So similarly, to serve our term in this material world of rectification, of improvement, of cleansing of our consciousness, we are given a specific uniform of the human form. Uniform of the human form. Not just the human form, any material form. And any material form means body. We accept bodies. And body means B-O-D and Y. B means birth, O means old age, D means disease, and Y means Yamraj. So birth, old age, disease, and death are integral parts of our existence in this world. We accept material bodies, and through that material bodies, we start identifying through false designations. If I get a material body in the country of India, I would say very proudly that I'm an Indian, and today being 15th of August, I would say it's Independence Day for me. But if there's somebody else coming from some other country, China, for example, they would say China is so great. It has such history. There's another person who's from Russia. They would say Russia is so great. There would some person from Pakistan, and they would be sitting next to the Indian. And the Indian would say, India is the best. And the Pakistani would say, Pakistan is the best. Now, I have a fundamental question. What is the reason for their reasoning out this fact that their country is the best? If you just think about it, it's fundamentally boiling out to the point that because they appeared in that country is their motherland, and therefore it's great. If the Chinese was in a Russian body, he would say Russia is great. If the Russian was in an Indian body, he would say India is great. So it's not the country being great on its own, but it's because I was born in this country, therefore this country is great. And then, not just the country, you identify with the families, you identify with your spouse, you identify with your children, you identify with your parents, you identify with your job, with your house, with your wealth, with the bank in whose account you have put all your wealth, your car, your bicycles, your guitar, so many things. We identify with so many things. And amidst all of this, we forget our original identity. We are completely convinced that the name that was given to me by my parents, that's my identity. You ask anybody, who are you? They would always give you their name. But if you actually think about it, it's so temporary. It started with birth, finishes off with death. Jobs are temporary. Relationships are temporary. Financial status is temporary. Everything in this world is wobbling and doubling, and it's all temporary. What is that thing that is eternal? Only three things. One, Sri Krishna. Krishna always was God. Krishna is God. Krishna will always be God. He doesn't change. There was never a point where Krishna became God. People oftentimes ask that question. If Krishna is God, how did he become God? Well, he was always God. Amara nirjara devas tridhasha vibhudasura. This is one of the characteristics of God, that he is beyond time zone. Second, we. We as being spirit souls, part and parcel of that Krishna, we always exist. We always existed. We exist. We will always exist. But it's a different fact that we don't remember it. So therefore we don't believe it. When we are put in temporary bodies, we suffer because we are eternal. We are always happy. We belong to Krishna who's happy. We belong to Krishna who's eternal. But now we are smothered and forced in this body which is temporary, which has birth, which grows old, which gets disease, which death. There's toothache, there's stomachache, there's earthquake, there's cyclone, there's mental disturbances. There's so many things, and the soul gets disturbed because his nature is eternity. The nature of the soul is eternity, Sat, Chit, full of knowledge, and Ananda, full of bliss. And the nature of the body is exact opposite. Asat, which means it's temporary, and it's not Chit, it's full of ignorance, and Dukh, it's not a place of suffering, not a place of happiness. So there's this constant disharmony. The soul has these three qualities, the body has three qualities, and that's the source of all our suffering. Atha griha kshetra sutta apta vittair Janasya mohoya maham mameti. We are fallen in this pit of total illusion. And then you ask somebody, how are you? The natural response is, I'm doing wonderful. I'm fine, thank you. How about you? And that person would say, I'm fine too. Both are an illusion and they're happy to be there. But the scriptures, time and again, they wake us up. Jeev Jago, please wake up. We belong to Krishna. We don't belong to this material world. We don't have to suffer. Imagine if you had a trolley and you can put all your luggage in a trolley and nicely, comfortably take it. But you're pushing the trolley and you have 3 bags on your back. Isn't that foolish? You don't have to take it, but you're still taking it. Why? Similarly, the soul doesn't have to die, doesn't have to suffer, doesn't have to enter another mother's womb and suffer there for 9 months with insects biting, with stool and urine and blood and mucus smeared all over your body. We don't have to suffer. But the reason we suffer repeated birth and death is forgetfulness of Krishna. Krishna bhuliya jeeva bhoga vancha kare nikatastha maya tare jhapatiya dhare. Chaitanya Charitamrita. As soon as the living entity forgets the eternal Krishna and his relationship with Krishna and desires to independently enjoy through his senses in this world, suffering. If there is a son who belongs to a very wealthy father, but out of ungrateful behavior, he just quits the house and leaves everything, abandons his family and goes onto the street with no money, with nothing, he'll beg there. And he thinks that's a very comfortable position. But he'll gain so much by simply realizing with gratitude the love that his parents are showering on him eternally. Similarly, Krishna as the Supreme Father and Srimati Radharani as the Supreme Worshipable, lovely Mother, they have been loving us and caring for us. Doesn't matter whichever body we transmigrate. We could be a hog searching for nectar in an open sewage, or you could be Indra hearing the glorifications of great Brahmanas. Srimati Radharani and Shri Krishna are always our well-wishing parents. But we have, out of ungrateful behavior, we don't accept their position. And we are trying to independently find happiness. So the first eternal fact is Krishna's existence. The second eternal fact is our existence. And the third eternal fact is the relationship between Shri Krishna and us. That's bhakti. 3 B's. Bhakta or the devotee, Bhagavan or God, and bhakti, the path of devotion. So all of these pastimes, the pastimes of Radha Krishna's swing festival, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna boat festival, the pastimes of Radha and Krishna's Jhulan Yatra, where they smear beautiful sandalwood pulp. So many pastimes. All of this time and again just remind us how much we should focus our mind, time, energy, and attention towards the eternal reality. Srila Prabhupada explained all these festivals must be celebrated with enthusiasm because the main fundamental backbone behind all these celebrations is bhakti. Otherwise, without devotion, without the spirit of reconnecting with Krishna, all our singing, all our decorations, all our foodstuffs, all our makeup, all our so-called external decorations are all useless because they don't induce the spirit of pure devotion. So therefore, it's so important that we prioritize the practice of bhakti, the process of hearing. Till the time we don't completely surrender to Krishna, we won't be free from our problems. The Bhagavad Gita explains, Sarva dharman parityajya mam ekam sharanam vraja. Aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshishyami ma shucha. Krishna says, just abandon everything which is temporary and material and just surrender to me. I will take care. It's like the father saying, you don't worry. I am there for you. If you have a problem, just come and speak to me. I am there for you. And all our acharyas taught us this. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, as the Yuga avatar, came in Kali Yuga simply to teach us how to surrender to Krishna. We don't know how to surrender to Krishna. We have our own opinions, and our mental concocted paths will never take us there. Tarko pratishto shrutaya vibhinna nasavrishir yasya matamna bhinna dharmasya tattvam nihitam guhayam mahajano yena gatah sapantha. We can never understand what our actual solution, what our actual path is, either by mentally concocting, either by dry speculative arguments on the scripture, or any of these paths. The only way to know what is our true goal and how to achieve it is by following great acharyas. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who is Krishna himself, came down to teach that. He taught us how to surrender to Krishna in a very pleasing way. When we say surrender, it's not the surrender where you keep a revolver on somebody's head and say, surrender. And then the guy goes like this. Well, we also go like this, but it's lovingly surrendering. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu taught us the principle of Nam Sankirtan, singing, dancing, fasting, and feasting. Who has a problem with this? We all love to chant, dance, and feast. Fasting sometimes, yes, I understand, but chanting, dancing, and feasting, it's a wonderful program. And the 6 Goswamis of Vrindavan, they taught us this principle of how to surrender. Today happens to be the disappearance anniversary of Srila Rupa Goswami. And we are all Rupanugas, the followers of Srila Rupa Goswami. And I remember a very beautiful pastime in the life of Rupa Goswami, hinting this fact of total surrender. Can I tell you? Should I? So Srila Sanatan Goswami, who was the spiritual master and the brother, the older brother of Rupa Goswami, was considered to be the spiritual master of the whole of Vrindavan. Very exalted personality. So one day happened to be his auspicious appearance day. So young Rupa Goswami thought, let me gift my brother something. He's also my spiritual master. I should gift him something. Now we know the Goswamis didn't have anything. Tyaktva turnam ashesha mandalapati shrenim sada tuchhavat bhutva dina ganesha kau karunaya kopina kanthashrito. They wore a kopin, a loincloth. They had a begging bowl. They had a stick. They slept under different trees every night. They would wear clothes, even the single cloth that was discarded by the Brajavasis with holes in it. For their eating, they never had a fixed income that would get deposited into their bank account every month. They would just go, they would take their cloth, and as a Baba, they would do madhukari, just beg for some braj rotis and some sabjis. And whatever they get, they would be happy. So he thought, what can I give him? I have nothing. So as he was thinking, and he was thinking of this in Vrindavan, and we know Vrindavan is it's a Chintamani Dham, which means in Vrindavan, whatever you meditate, whatever you think, that comes out true. The trees in Vrindavan are wish-fulfilling trees, kalpa vriksha. Every dust particle in Vrindavan is a chintamani, is a touchstone. Every cow in Vrindavan is a kamadhenu, a wish-fulfilling cow. Every tree in Vrindavan is a saint in his past. Every creeper in Vrindavan is an associate of Radharani. So Vrindavan is a very beautiful place. So as he was meditating, a very beautiful, young, innocent Vraja Gopi, young girl, she came. She got a pot of kheer, sweet rice. And she came to Rupa Goswami and said, Baba, today happens to be Sanatan Goswami's Vyasa Puja. It's his appearance day. And he's the spiritual master for the whole of Vrindavan. And I know you've been looking for something to gift him. So this is a kind offering, a pot filled with sweet rice. And I wish to offer this to you so that you offer it to him. So Rupa Goswami felt, well, wonderful. This is what I was looking for. Even to make sweet rice, I didn't have the ingredients. But look, Krishna's mercy, I get this wonderful pot of, and he tried smelling it. It was good. So he took that pot and he went to Sanatan Goswami. And he told Sanatan Goswami, "Oh spiritual master, oh older brother, you are the Lord of my life. Today happens to be your appearance day, your birthday, so to speak. I have nothing to offer you, but this is a pot of nectar that I wish to give you." Because we know in the Upadeshamrita, or the nectar of instruction, there are 6 principles or signs of a loving relationship. Dadati pratigrinhati guhyamakhyati pruchhati bhunkte bhojayate chaiva shadvidhi priti lakshanam. The 6 signs of a loving relationship are giving gifts, accepting gifts, revealing our mind confidentially to somebody, and accepting their message in confidentiality. That's 4. And accepting prasad and offering prasad. So this was gift also and prasad also. So he said, this is what I have to give you. So Sanatan Goswami was perplexed. He said, you don't have all this. Where did you get this from? So Rupa Goswami, he said, well, I got it. How did you get it? I was thinking about it, and a very beautiful girl, she came, she looked very beautiful, and she got this pot of kheer. And I accepted it, and I'm offering it to you. Sanatan Goswami said, very good. And he put his hand, and he tasted the kheer. And as he tasted, his taste buds went ecstatic. He took the first taste, and there was tears gushing down his eyes, 5 streams of tears wetting his cheeks, hair standing on end. He was trembling, voice choked. He was faltering, almost going unconscious in ecstasy. He said, where did you get this from? What is this? Who got this? And as Rupa Goswami was saying, the girl in Vrindavan got it. He said, describe, how did she look? Who is this girl? And Rupa Goswami started very exquisitely, beautifully describing. He's an erudite scholar, so he's a very good observer. He started describing her hair were like this, her eyes were like lotus petals, her complexion was like molten gold, and this is how she looked, this is how she spoke, this is how she cooked, this is how she behaved. And Sanatan Goswami, as he's hearing, and of course as he was hearing, he was also tasting, because he couldn't stop. He said, have you gone crazy? Don't you know what the process of bhakti is? In bhakti, we offer ourselves to Srimati Radharani. You're a fool. That girl was Srimati Radharani. She came in Vrindavan, Vrindavaneshwari. The goddess of Vrindavan, she walked to you and she gave you a pot of kheer to give it to me. Don't you have shame? You're supposed to surrender yourself completely to her service, not accept any service from her. Our life is meant for her. And he was chastising very heavily. He didn't think he's Rupa Goswami, so it's okay. He was heavily chastising him. Sadhu and Guru means to be heavy and to cut. So he was really very heavy. But as Sanatan Goswami was chastising and Rupa Goswami was listening to this chastisement, they were also passing the pot of kheer and mutually eating because they couldn't stop eating. So it's like, why did you do this? And then ate. And then he gave it to him. He said, I'm really sorry. And then this went on. And finally they finished the whole, the whole pot of kheer. And Sanatana Goswami finally he forgave Rupa Goswami. He understood that this was Srimati Radharani herself who had come to serve her dear devotee. So the model of the story, of course the story continues, but I'll have to truncate it at this point. The model at this point is how heavily Sanatana Goswami enforced this principle of surrender. He said, Sri Sri Radha and Krishna are the Lord of our lives. We shouldn't take service from them. We are not here as businessmen performing bhakti and asking something in return. We have to be selfless. Radha Krishna prana mor yugala kishore jivane marane gati ara nahi mor. Narottam Das Thakur in this very beautiful song, he says, Radha and Krishna are my life and soul. And without their service, there is no other goal. I'm meant to serve them selflessly. And this is the point for a living entity. To the extent we expect respect, to that extent we will be quarrelsome. To the extent we are selfish in our service, to that extent we will be displeased. When we become completely selfless, yayatma suprasidati, we will be very satisfied. The Bhagavatam describes how our service to Radha and Krishna should be. Savai pumsam paro dharmo yatho bhaktir adhokshaje ahaituki apratihata yayatma suprasidati. For the soul to be completely transcendentally ecstatic and super satisfied, our service to Radha and Krishna should be selfless, unconditional, uninterrupted, unmotivated, divine, loving, transcendental service. And this is the mode in Vrindavan. If you see how Krishna is worshipped in other places, as Vishnu in Vaikuntha, Lakshmi sahasra shatasam brahmasevyamanam govindam adi purusham tamaham bhajami. They worship Vishnu, the 400 Vishnu, because he's God. And the spirit is awe and reverence. Oh my Lord, you're so great, I'm your servant, I surrender. The spirit in Dwaraka and the spirit in Mathura is also filled and imbued with awe and reverence. Aishwaryamai bhakti. But in Vrindavan, the spirit is spontaneous ragmai bhakti, imbued with intimacy. Shuddha madhurya prem, where all the dealings in Vrindavan are spontaneous, are loving. They don't care whether Krishna is God. Even if Krishna is not God, their reaction and their relation with Krishna would still be the same. In Mathura, when Krishna and Balaram entered, the women in Mathura were very attracted to the forms of Krishna and Balaram. They felt they are young boys and they are so well built. They were so nice. But then as soon as Krishna and Balaram started smashing Kamsa and Mushtik and Chanura and Kuvalaya Pida, they said, oh, these people are special. Maybe they are God. So in Mathura and in Dwaraka, when the Supreme Lord, he flashes or exhibits his super excellent prowess, they say, well, he's God. And they naturally become in the concept of Aishwarya. But in Vrindavan, even if Krishna shows the supremely attractive universe in his mouth, his mother looks into his mouth, and then Krishna closes his mouth and smiles, his mother forgets. She doesn't think, my child is God. She would say, he may be God, but he's my child. The friends saw Krishna lifting Giriraj for 7 days, and they were putting their sticks to support the hill. Oh, Krishna, maybe you will feel very tired. You're holding the whole hill with the little finger of the left hand. Don't worry, we'll help you. And then they were all holding their sticks. Now are you feeling comfortable? Now is the balance okay? And Krishna was looking. Then he wanted to show them something special. So he started tilting the heel a bit. And his hands started shaking. And the heel started tilting. And all the sticks started breaking. And they said, what happened? What happened? And then Krishna said, don't worry, I'll lift it back. So even when Krishna exhibits things like this, or dancing on the hoods of Kaliya, who can do it? But the friends in Vrindavan, they see all this. And then they say, our friend is so talented. This is Vrindavan. This is Vrindavan. Their love for Krishna is spontaneous. This is a very exalted position. Krita Punya Punja. The Bhagavatam explains. The cowherd friends and all the associates of Krishna, they are so special. They have collected so much of Bhakti Sukriti for lifetimes. So much of spiritual transcendental merit on the basis of which they can deal with Krishna with so much of intimacy. They sit with Krishna on the same seat. They eat Krishna. They are chewing something. And then Krishna puts his hand into their mouth and he eats from there. For us, you cook in your kitchen and you can't smell, you can't taste, you can see, of course, because you have to cook, but you can smell, you can taste. And then we have to offer it to Krishna. That's how we progress, through a regulated process. But they have done it all. And they're so special. Therefore, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if there is one land that you have to worship, Tad Dhama Vrindavanam. It's the land of Vrindavan. Because it's filled with transcendental love, it's filled with transcendental residence, it's filled with transcendental pastimes. And Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, if you want to love a land, love Vrindavan. If you want to worship one personality, it has to be Krishna in Vrindavan. The complete Shyama Sundar. Alola Chandra Kalasad Vanamalya Vamshi Ratnangadam Pranayakeli Kalavilasam Shyamam Tribhanga Lalitam Niyatah Prakasham Govindamadi Purusham Tamaham Bhajami. That's Shyam Sundar, who has this threefold bending form. Alola Chandraka Lasad, who has this moon-like shaped necklace, a pendant. Alola, it's swinging. Vanamali, he has this forest flower garland. Vamshi, he has this flute. Ratna, Angada, he has precious jewels on his hands and on the flute. Pranaya Keli Kalavilasam, and he performs love-filled pastimes. How does he look? Shyamam, he's the complexion of a rain-filled monsoon cloud. Tribhanga Lalitam, beautiful form with three bends on his body. He has a bent on the knee, a bent on the waist, and a bent on the neck. Niyata Prakasham, his body has this effulgence which illuminates the whole creation. To that Govinda I bow down, Brahma says. We see this again and again. Venum Kwanantam Aravinda Dalayataksham Barahavatam Samasitam Ambuda Sundarangam, the complexion of a rain-filled, freshly formed monsoon cloud. Ambuda Sundarangam, Govindamadi Purusham. This beautiful form of Krishna. This is our worshipable Lord according to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And then he said, now, if you want to know who are the best among devotees, Ramya Kajidupasana Vrajavadhum Varghenaya Kalpita. He said the topmost land is Vrindavan, the topmost worshipable personality is Krishna in Vrindavan, and the greatest devotees are the Vrajagopis. The Vrajagopis. And among the Vrajagopis, the greatest, the highest, the topmost, the most worshipable personality is Srimati Radharani. Makheshwari, Kriyeshwari, Swadeshwari, Sureshwari, Triveda Bharatishwari, Pramana Shashaneshwari, Rameshwari, Kshameshwari, Pramoda Kananeshwari, Vrajeshwari, Vrajadipe, Shri Radhike Namostute. This Radharani, she's the topmost. So Krishna is existing as the supreme Lord, the master, the creator, the ultimate origin. And Srimati Radharani is the greatest devotee. And the interaction between Radharani and Sri Krishna is not the interaction of a male and female in this world. It's the supremely worshipable, pure, sanctified, holy relation that the Supreme Lord shares with his greatest devotee. Imagine, the Lord is perfect, Bhagavan, Bhakta Shiromani, Srimati Radharani, and the relationship, that of pure love. Atmendra Priti Vancha, Tari Boli Kam, Krishnendra Priti Vancha, Dhari Premanam. What we have, the desire to satisfy our own burning senses, is kama or lust. But the selfless desire to please and satisfy the senses of Sri Krishna is prema or pure love. And Srimati Radharani is Mahabhava Swarupini. She is the highest embodiment of pure love. Bhakti starts from Shraddha, faith. Then Sadhu Sangha, we associate with devotees. Then Bhajan Kriya, we worship the Lord. And finally we go on to the level of pure love, prema. Srimati Radharani is on the highest level, Madanakya Mahabhav, of prema. We cannot even understand. Anaya aradhito nunam bhagavan haririshwaram yanno vihaya govinda pritoyam anayadraha. Shukdev Goswami, very clever, in a very hidden way, he expresses the glories of Srimati Radharani in the Bhagavatam. Srimati Radharani completely controls Krishna on the dint of pure love. It's only love that controls Krishna, nothing else. And Prahlad Maharaj in the Bhagavatam, he says this. Canto 7, chapter 9, text 9. Manye dhanabi jana rupa tapa shrutaujas teja prabhava bala paurusha buddhi yoga naradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumsam bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayutapaya. He says, Manye dhana, wealth, abhijana, relatives. Manye dhana abhijana, rupa, form, tapa, austerity, shruta, learning, ojas, sensory expertise, teja, effulgence, prabhava, influence, bala, strength, buddhi, intellect, yoga, mystic perfection. None of this, na aradhanaya, with all of this, you cannot worship the Supreme Lord. Which means you can dovetail them, but you cannot control Krishna on the dint of all of this. Na aradhanaya hi bhavanti parasya pumsam. Oh, then what's the thing that controls Krishna? Bhaktya tutosha bhagavan gajayutapaya. It's only through bhakti, pure love, that Krishna can be controlled. And the example given is Gajendra, the king of elephants. He didn't have any of this, but he had pure devotion. Srimati Radharani is the origin of all of that love. The mundane temptation of this world, which is a perverted reflection, is a portion of the shadow of the original reflection, the original truth. All the love that we find in this world is insignificant in comparison to the relation in heaven. The relation in heaven is insignificant in relation to the relationship in Vaikuntha. The relationship in Vaikuntha is insignificant in comparison to the relationship in Ayodhya. The relation in Ayodhya is insignificant in comparison to the relationship in Dwaraka. The relationship in Dwaraka is insignificant in comparison to the relationship in Mathura with Krishna. The relationship in Mathura is completely insignificant in comparison to the love of the Vrajavasis with Krishna in Vrindavan. And the love of the Vrajavasis is insignificant in comparison to the love of the Vrajagopis with Krishna. And the love of the Vrajagopis is completely insignificant in comparison to the pure, unalloyed, unconditional, uninterrupted, unmotivated, transcendental, sanctifying, holy relation that Srimati Radharani has for Krishna. When people have lust in their consciousness and lust in their eyes, they reflect and superimpose that lust on the pastimes of the Lord. And therefore, they compare the relationship of Radha and Krishna with the gopis and falsely compare that with male and female of this world. But that is pure, that is transcendental, that is eternal. Everything here is nonsense, temporary. Srila Prabhupada writes, the beauty of Radharani, he compares. He says, the most beautiful, attractive lady in this world. I'm saying lady because women are mentioned as the fair sex. They are compared to be more beautiful. So the most beautiful lady in this world, Prabhupada writes in a purport, she looks like a frog in comparison to the heavenly damsels, who look like frogs in comparison to the Lakshmis in Vaikuntha, who look like frogs in comparison to the queens in Dwaraka, who look like frogs in comparison to the women in Mathura, who look like frogs in comparison to the Braja Gopis, especially Srimati Radharani. And Srimati Radharani is the crest jewel, Shiromani. She's the crown among all the devotees, of all the beauty, of all that is pure. And this swing festival is the beautiful transcendental reciprocation that the Lord is having with his best devotee. Krishna promised in the Bhagavad Gita, Ye yatham mam prapadyante tam sthataiva bhajamyaham. I would reward according to your degree of surrender. But it's a hard fact. It's a sorry state for Krishna, that Krishna is not able to reciprocate with the pure love of the gopis, especially Srimati Radharani, even with the time span of a lifetime of Brahma. What can Krishna give the gopis in return? Some wealth? Some heavenly position? They are already in Goloka Vrindavan. Positions? Beauty? They are more beautiful than Krishna. What can Krishna give them? Krishna falls at their feet. He said, I cannot give you anything. I've given myself to you. This is their position. Their love for Krishna is way more than even Krishna's degree of reciprocation. How do we understand this? God, who's perfect, who's unlimited, who's infinite, who's infallible, he falls short. He is incapable. He becomes poor because he cannot reciprocate to the greatest depth, the greatest extent of love of the gopis, especially Radharani. And this was so deep and intense in the heart of Krishna that he had to accept the mood of Radharani and come down as Sri Chaitanya. Krishna understands everything, but he cannot understand what is the inspiring spirit that keeps Srimati Radharani going. So therefore, he had to become Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So this swing festival is to be understood in that perspective. I built up an hour-long philosophy from the scripture before I venture into telling you a swing pastime. Because if I start with the pastime, it's very difficult to understand. So all the viewers who are watching us at the moment, I'm sorry to keep you waiting for an hour long, but we know all the sweet things in this world take time. Everything takes time to open. So I had to build on the basis of Srila Prabhupada's books the right understanding before we approach and touch the swing of Radha and Krishna. So on that note, with all of that backing of Shastric philosophy and Tattva Siddhanta, the conclusion of the scriptures, now I would like to, with your permission, tell you a very sweet pastime of the swing. Would you want to hear? So one time, it's described by the Acharyas that Krishna had seen Srimati Radharani from a distance. He had never seen her in person, closely. He had seen her from a distance, but he desired to see her closely because he had heard she's very beautiful. Now, on the other hand, we could also have this question, how do we understand this? Because we remember when Srimati Radharani was born, she wouldn't open her eyes and then Krishna had to come and touch her face, and then Radharani would open her eyes. He did that, and he saw Radharani, but the veil of Yoga Maya, the energy of Krishna so strong that it erased everything to heighten the bliss of this pastime. So Krishna desired to see Srimati Radharani closely. So for that he did some research to find out how he could do this very, very nicely. So he understood, and all of them were 6, 7 years old, all children. So Radharani was very innocent, young girl. All the gopis, they would play hide and seek, which means one gopi would go like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And then she would open. And by then, all the gopis had to hide. All the young girls, let's call it like that, because they were 5 or 6 years old. So one person would seek, and others would hide. Now, Srimati Radharani was so innocent as a little baby girl that she would hide in the same place every time. Very sweet. We find that among children also here, and it just captivates our mind. So that origin comes from Radharani. So Radharani would hide in the same grove again and again, every time. So Krishna would think, he would wonder, he said, why? All the other girls are hiding in different places, but this girl, she would try hiding, but then when she doesn't find a place, she would look at her own kunja and she would go and hide behind. So Krishna made a plan. He said, if I have to observe her closely, I have to do something. So next time, when one gopi was saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, Krishna went and hid there. And it was pitch dark. So Krishna was in that grove. And Radharani came. She was running and palpitating, and she came and she hid. And it's completely pitch dark. So you know when you enter a dark room, for the first few minutes, you can't see anything. But then after that, it becomes a little clear. You start seeing the outline of different things around. So Radharani entered this kunja, and she couldn't see anything. It was pitch dark. And after some time, she looked, and suddenly she could see 2 eyes. 2 big eyes popping out from that kunja. Radharani got scared. But then she looked closely. Those were familiar eyes. Those were the eyes of Krishna. And Krishna saw Radharani. Now we went step by step, the frog example of how beautiful Srimati Radharani is. It's described billions and billions of Lakshmis put together in their beauty. It doesn't come even close to 1 billionth the beauty and the effulgence of the end of the toenail of 1 foot of Srimati Radharani. So that's how beautiful she is. So when Krishna saw Srimati Radharani in that kunja, what happened to Krishna? He fainted. Krishna, the embodiment of all beauty, he fainted looking at Radharani. Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi, she's molten gold complexion, Radhe Vrindavaneshwari, Vrishabhanu Sute Devi, the daughter of Vrishabhanu, Pranamami Hari Priye. I bow down to that dear devotee of Hari. So Krishna fainted. Now Radharani was confused what to do. If I come out of the kunja, seeing Krishna here, the girl who's seeking, she would spot me. And the game goes like that, as we know. There'll be one person seeking, and if she catches hold of another person, then that person has to count, and everybody else hides. So Radharani said, if I step out of the kunja, I will be caught. But if I'm inside the kunja, it's very embarrassing, because if somebody comes and sees, what are you doing with Krishna here in the kunja? And Krishna is unconscious. What did you do to him? So she said, what to do? And she's a young girl, 5 or 6 years old. So she thought, let me just step out. It's better to be caught in this game and to seek in the next chance than to be embarrassed. So she stepped out, but then instead of continuing the game, she just clapped and she said, everybody come out. The game is over. Come out. I don't feel like playing. I'm going home. And she was very sad. Because she was sad because she was in a fix. Krishna was unconscious. He had fainted, and she couldn't even serve him and bring him back to consciousness. Because if she spends her time and by then some other girl comes in, it's embarrassing. And for the sake of protecting her status of embarrassment, she left Krishna in an unconscious state. God knows what happened to him. So she was very sad. She went home. She didn't speak to anybody. She just clapped. She said, I'm not playing this game. I'm going home. And she went. So everybody became sad. What happened to Radharani? Hey Radhe, what happened to you? Lalita Devi, who's Anuradha, who follows Srimati Radharani, she went to Radharani, said, what happened? You tell me. Reveal your heart to me. What is the thing that's keeping you low and sad? So Radharani told her everything. Said, I don't know what to do. I felt like crying. I was in that kunja and Krishna was hiding and I saw his face and he looked at me and he fainted and he fell unconscious and I put my own embarrassing situation as priority over his health. I left him. I'm really sad. Oh, Lalita, can you do me a favor? Can you go to Nandagram? And can you ask Mother Yashoda how Krishna is doing? Lalita Devi said, yes, for you I can do that. She went to Nandagaon. If you go, even now in Nandagaon there is a Lalita Kund. That is in relation to this pastime. Lalita Devi's visit to Nandagaon. So Lalita Devi went to Maya Yashoda, said, Maya, oh mother, how's Krishna doing? Is he okay? Is he taking medicines? Maya Yashoda said, what happened to Krishna? He's playing outside with his friends. What happened? So Lalita Devi didn't tell her anything. Said, oh really? She came back and told Radharani. The scene was such that when Radharani left, Krishna came back to consciousness and then he went home. The story was over there. So in that way, Radharani was pacified. So in that Kund, Nandagram, that Lalita Kund, Radha and Krishna would have swing pastimes on the banks of Lalita Kund. At different times, in different places, Radha and Krishna would swing Jhulan Yatra or Jhulan Leela. And Lalita Kund, the swing at Lalita Kund was also very famous. So now I'll tell you one more story into the story. Narada Muni, he is very famous, especially if Indian devotees, they know. They know Narada Muni less as a great devotee and more as somebody who enjoys creating fights. He would take some secrets from this party, said, oh, don't worry, I'm your friend, I'll just keep it to myself, don't worry. And then he would take all of this, and all the person and the characters involved in that story, he would go to them and say, oh, he said this, is that true? I definitely thought that's not true. What do you think about it? And then they would say something. And then Narada Muni would take that. Well, that's what people popularly think. But they don't know everything that he does is a beautiful pastime. So Radharani was very close to Narada Muni. Narada Muni would come and give some advice of bhakti to young Radharani. So Krishna once walked to Radharani and said, listen, I'll give you a piece of free advice. I'll not charge for this, free advice. The advice is, stay away from Narada Muni. She said, why? He's such a pure devotee. No problems at all. Krishna is saying, I am warning you. He is unpredictable. There could be a time where he could create fights between you and me. Radharani said, there's no force in this world and the next which can create fights between you and me. We are together. Krishna said, it's up to you. I have warned you already. So Radharani said, fine, no problem. I'll continue. Sadhu Sangha. We have to hear from great souls. And you're stopping me from Sadhu Sangha? I will hear from Narada Muni, come what may. Krishna said, your wish. I have done my duty, rest is your wish. Narada Muni came to Krishna. And Krishna was very pleased with Narada Muni's level of devotion. So he said, oh Narada, you're such a great personality. Ask for a boon and I'll give you. Narada said, no boons, my lord. I'm your selfless servant. I don't need boons. Krishna said, no. You give me you ask for a boon and I'll give you. So Narada thought about it and he said, I don't need it now, but when I need it, I'll come and ask you. So hold on to it, don't forget. So one day, on the banks of Lalita Kund, there was this festival of Jhulan. All the Sakhis, all the gopis, all the maid servants called as the manjaris, young 12 to 14-year-old girls, they were all decorating the swing very beautifully. Matching cloth, creepers, vines, flowers, birds around, everything beautiful. And the clouds, they were drizzling rain, and the plan was swinging Radha and Krishna during this monsoon season. So Narad Muni came there at that point when this time came. So Krishna was ready for the swing, but that day Radharani had not come. She got late. And all the Sakhis and all the gopis, they're all ready, decorating the kunja, waiting for Radharani. So Narad Muni approached Krishna. And he said, "Oh Krishna, you remember? Long time ago, you had offered to give me a boon." Krishna said, yes, I remember. Ask for it and I'll fulfill. Narada said, "I want that boon now." "Yes, shoot, go for it." Narada said, "Oh Krishna, oh Lord of the gopis, oh Gopi Vallabha, I always see you swinging with Radharani. All of these gopis are your special devotees, especially Lalita Devi. This is Lalita Kund. It is my desire to see Lalita Devi swing with you. She is Anuradha." So Krishna said, "No problem. Anyway, Radharani is late. So till the time Radharani comes, we have some time. No problem. Lalita, please sit and I will swing you and fulfill the desire of Narada." Lalita Devi said, No, that's the position for my Swamini. Raseshwari, Haridaseshwari. That position belongs to Srimati Radharani. I cannot take it. Krishna said, "No, because we have to fulfill this desire of Narada, please." So Lalita Devi said, "Okay." So she sat, Krishna sat, Lalita Devi sat, and the gopis started swinging Lalita and Krishna. It was very interesting sight. Lalita Kund, Lalita Devi is swinging, and she was like literally grumbling because that's not her position. And Krishna was also not comfortable, but he had to because Narada had this desire. So everybody, they started playing instruments. Some started singing ragas. Some started dancing. Some started throwing colors. Some started throwing flowers. The peacock started dancing. The cuckoo bird started singing. It was festive. And everybody is focusing on the swing, and suddenly Krishna looks around. He says, "Where is Narada?" He's not to be seen. And parallelly, Narada Muni, he went into the bedroom of Radharani. Now, Narada Muni is a very interesting personality. He doesn't need visa. He doesn't need passport. He doesn't need immigration queues. He doesn't need anything. He can go anywhere, from the hellish planet even to the bedroom of Lakshmi and Narayan. No problem. He can go everywhere. So Narada has, He has free access and free traveling. He has the frequent traveler pass. He can go everywhere. Bonus points. So he entered the bedroom of Radharani, and Radharani was looking into the mirror and she was decorating herself. So Narada prostrated himself and he said, "Oh Radharani, what are you decorating yourself for?" So Radharani said, "No, I have to go to Lalita Kund and there's going to be a Jhulan Leela, Jhulan Yatra, swing festival. I'm getting ready. My Krishna is waiting for me and I have to reach there. I'm already late, so I have to look good and I have to go." Narada said, "Jhulan Leela? But the Jhulan Leela is already going on." It's already going on there. Radharani said, "What do you mean?" "Oh, I just passed by that place and I saw Krishna swinging with Lalita Devi." "I was shocked myself," Narada said. "How is it possible that Krishna is swinging with anybody else except you? I mean, this is not right. You have been waiting for so long and you have to go. You're decorating yourself." Radharani said, "I don't believe this." Narada said, "I just came from there. I passed and I saw all of this. If you don't believe me, I can take you there." So Narada Muni, he instigated that, and then he took Radharani. He said, I'll take you, come on. And then they reached there. And Radharani saw, and Krishna is swinging with Lalita, and he's looking around everywhere because he was searching for Narada. And Narada tells Radharani, look, he's swinging with Lalita Devi and he's looking in all directions just to make sure that you're not seeing this. So, saying he's looking around just to make sure that you are not seeing this. Oh, Radharani got so offended. She's a young girl, because we have to understand all of this is happening when they're swinging when they're 8 or 9 years old. So Radharani, she felt so sad. She started removing all her earrings. She pulled her necklace. She started removing all her decorative flowers. She pulled her flowers from her hair and she was throwing down. She started crying. And she went into the forest and she was crying. And Krishna was looking, where is Narada? I did this for him and now he's disappeared. And suddenly Narada appeared. He said, very good, Krishna, thank you. You fulfilled my desire. Krishna said, where were you? Oh, I was just here. I was doing parikrama. Such a beautiful place. Oh, thank you. This is so good. Then Krishna looked at Narada and he said, why Radharani has not come here yet? Narada said, I don't know. I mean, she should have been here by now. I don't know why she is not here. I think you should go and search for her yourself. So Krishna, he got down and then he started searching. Oh, Radhe! Oh, Radhe! 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 He started searching for Radharani everywhere. And suddenly he entered a small forest, or not a forest, but a grove, a nikunja. And he could hear somebody sitting. Somebody was crying, some girl. So Krishna entered. He said, oh, that's Radharani. This mood of Radharani, the sulking anger mode, is called as man. It's a very integral part of enriching Radha and Krishna's pastimes. Radharani never gets angry towards Krishna. Krishna never makes anybody sit except Radharani. And Krishna never feels like seeing Radharani from close as if he has never seen, because he has always seen. But all of these temporary twists and turns are got by Yogamaya. Vrinda Devi, who's orchestrating the whole thing. She's the director of the play. All just to enrich, just to, increase, heighten the enjoyment, the reciprocation, love-filled reciprocation of Krishna and his dear devotees. So Krishna came there, he said, oh, Radhe. Radharani said, don't look at me. Oh, what happened? Don't talk to me. I don't want to look at you. You black serpent, I don't want to see your face. Oh, but what did I do? You rascal, you swing with Lalita. Just because she's Anuradha, you will swing with her, and now very innocently you ask me, what did you do? You cheat? I don't want to look at you. In fact, I don't want to see anything that's black. Krishna sent some of the gopis and the manjaris, said, you go and try to pacify her. So the manjaris came close to Radharani. And when they fell at Radharani's feet and they were looking at Radharani, Radharani said, I don't want to see anything black. Shave your head. All your eyebrows and eyelashes, paint them with sandalwood paste. I don't want to see anything that's black. Anything that's black reminds me of this Shyam Sundar. Even in her man, look at the depth of her meditation. Anything that's black reminds her of Krishna. So then finally, she was just blasting. She was a volcano at that point. But because of her deep possessiveness of Krishna, Krishna started bathing her lotus feet with his tears. He said, please understand me. Radharani said, I don't want to understand you. There's nothing. Everything is clear. I saw with my eyes. Praman, Sakshat, direct sense perception. I saw this. This is what you do? I saw Lalita. God knows how many Sakhis you swing with. Krishna said, please listen to me. And Narada was standing at the back. I don't want to interrupt both of you. Please continue. And Krishna looked at Narada. He said, please enter. Please enter the scene. Please do something. Narada said, well, I have to chant my rounds. I have not finished, something like that. I have not finished my rounds. I'll be back. So Krishna, he told Radharani, please understand. I'll tell you what happened. And then he told Radharani how he had promised Narada a boon, and Narada asked this as a boon, and then she got late, and just to fulfill the desire of Narada Muni, he had Lalita sit with him on the swing, and then Narada Muni came there, and he said, please understand, I didn't have this desire. This great soul, this pure devotee, he inspired me to perform this service. So then when Radharani looked at Narada Muni smiled and he said, all that he said is true. So then they all burst into laughter because they saw Krishna crying. It started with Radharani crying and then ended up with Krishna crying, and then everybody started laughing and they all said, Jai Radhe, Jai Krishna, Jai Vrindavan. So in this way, Narada Muni said, now if you liked my service, because Narada Muni was he was the integral part in all of this service. It was a beautiful Leela. Without Narada Muni's intervention, it wouldn't have turned up to be so sweet. So Narada Muni said, I served both of you, so now I desire one more boon. Let my wish be, I want to see with my eyes Sri Sri Radha and Govinda swing very blissfully on this beautiful Jhula. So then Radha and Krishna sat on that swing, and the Sakhis started pushing, and Radha and Krishna were swinging, and there were ragas and mridangas and veenas and dances and peacocks and birds and animals and forests and trees and wind and breeze and aroma and the clouds. Everything was set up so brilliantly by Vrinda Devi that this was the perfect occasion. As there is a very beautiful song by Narottam Das Thakur. This is how the scene was. Vrindavana ramya sthana divya chintamani dhama ratana mandira manohara avritam kalindi nire rajahamsa kelikore Tare shobhe kanaka kamala. He explains, Vrindavana ramya sthana. This land of Vrindavan is a love-filled, charming, attractive, pleasing place. Divya Chintamani Dhama is a place where desires are fulfilled. It's transcendental. Ratana Mandira Manohara. There's a beautiful temple there. It's filled with jewels and it just charms the heart. Avritam Kalindi Nire Rajahamsa Kelikore. On the waters of the Yamuna, there are big white swan. They are enjoying. Tare Shobhe Kanaka Kamala. And besides them, there are big 8-petaled, 16-petaled, 32-petaled, 64-petaled, 128-petaled, 256-petaled, 512-petaled, 1024-petaled golden lotus flowers. These days we have 16 byte, we have 16 GB, 32 GB, 64 GB, 128 GB. All of this comes from here. 256, 512, 1 terabyte. Everything comes from here. That's how the petals are found in the spiritual world. And then in the middle of the petal, big flower, there's a very beautiful throne. And Radha and Krishna are sitting on that throne. And all these petals, there are the Sakhis and the Manjaris. There are 8 Sakhis, then 16 Sakhis, then 32 Sakhis, then 64 Sakhis, then 128 Sakhis, and it goes on. In the center, on that beautiful whirl of that petal, on that beautiful golden jeweled throne, Radha and Krishna are sitting. Tara madhye hema pithe ashtadale besthita ashtadale pradhana naika. On those 8 petals, the 8 leaders or the 8 gopis are sitting. And who's sitting in the center? তার মধ্যে রত্নাসনে বসিয়া আছে দুইজনে শ্যাম সঙ্গী সুন্দরী রাধিকা. In the center with Krishna is the beautiful, lovely Sundari Radhika. And how is the relation? O Rupa Lavanya Rashi Amiya Padiche Khasi Hasya Parihasya Sambhashana. They are laughing, they are cracking jokes, and they are having conversation, and it's so blissful. And finally, Narottam Das Thakur says, Narottama Das koi nitya leela sukhamay sadai spurato mora mane. Let this be ever glorious and eternally present in my heart. It's so blissful. Sadai spurato mora mane. Vrindavana ramya sthana divya chintamani dhama ratana mandira manohara. So in this way, swing festival, boat festival, all of these festivals are an expression of Radha and Krishna's mutual reciprocation of love. And for devotees like us, Srila Prabhupada is so merciful. He has given us an opportunity in this world, while being here with all our anarthas, to perform services that the gopis perform for Radha and Krishna in the spiritual world. They swing them, we swing them. They cook for them, we cook for them. They dance for them, we dance for them. They decorate for them, we decorate for them. They sing for them, we sing for them. They play instruments for them, we play instruments for them. They enjoy this occasion of Radha and Krishna's pleasure, and we enjoy that of Radha and Krishna's pleasure in our temples. How wonderful and how merciful Srila Prabhupada is. So in this way, there are so many pastimes and so many things that could be said, but because I have served, I think, close to 1.5 hours, I would like to take your permission to wrap up this whole discussion and beg for your prayers and blessings, so that let us all, starting with myself, always remember the beautiful pastimes of Shri Shri Nitai Gauranga and Shri Shri Radha and Krishna under the guidance of our Guru Parampara. Let us always absorb our minds, senses and intellect in chanting and hearing about Shri Krishna. And let our lives be exemplary examples in serving the Vaishnavas, pleasing the spiritual master, and living and dying for the pleasure of Shri Shri Radha and Krishna. Thank you so much for your time. Hari Bol. Hare Krishna. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Jhulan Yatra ki jai. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Gaur Premanand. Hare Krishna.